Half an acre is a joke for self-sufficiency. That is what many farming experts online will tell you. They say you need wide pastures, big tractors, and acres of land before you can even begin to feed your family. But after years of working with gardens, soil, livestock, and small homesteads, I can tell you this clearly. That idea is wrong. For more than 2 centuries, traditional Amish families have proven that a small piece of land can produce an incredible amount of food when it is managed wisely. They did it without electricity, without heavy machinery, and without depending on fragile supply chains. Their secret was never fancy technology. It was a practical, biological system tested over generations. The mistake many modern homesteaders make is starting with random animals instead of a real plan. First, they buy chickens because everyone says chickens are easy. Then they add ducks after watching a video. Then maybe they bring home a goat from an auction because it seemed like a good idea. Before long, they have 3 separate feeding routines, 3 shelters to clean, and $1,200 to $1,500 a year disappearing into commercial feed. And what do they get back? A few eggs, some milk they are not ready to store, and more stress than food security. The problem is not the animals. The problem is choosing animals that do not support each other. In the Amish way of farming, every animal has a job inside one living system. One provides protein, one provides dairy, one controls pests, one builds soil fertility, another supports pollination. When the right animals are combined, they begin to lower each other's costs and make the whole homestead stronger. So instead of buying animals emotionally, the goal is to build a resilient backyard ecosystem. By the end of this guide, you will see how a family can produce eggs, meat, milk, and honey from a smart half-acre system. These are the 8 best animals Amish families raise on just half an acre for self-reliant living. Part 1. Laying hens, the unbreakable foundation. The first animal I would put on any small self-reliant homestead is the laying hen. And honestly, it is also the last animal I would ever remove. Many beginners think they need a huge flock to make chickens worthwhile, but that is not true. 6 good hens can produce around 1,800 to 2,000 eggs a year, enough to cover breakfast for a family of 4, with extra eggs left for selling, trading, or sharing with neighbors. But the key is raising them the right way. In the Amish system, chickens are not locked away all day eating expensive feed. They are allowed to move, scratch through grass, hunt insects, and clean up kitchen scraps. That one habit can cut commercial feed costs by 25 to 30%. In a small homestead, every animal should earn its place, and hens do that beautifully by turning pests and leftovers into fresh eggs. Where many beginners go wrong is breed selection. Commercial hybrids may lay heavily for a short time, but after a couple of years, their production often drops fast. Heritage breeds like Buff Orpingtons and Rhode Island Reds are a better long-term choice. They handle cold weather well, forage harder, and keep laying reliably into their later years. On a real homestead, steady production matters more than a short burst. One more rule is important. Chicken manure is powerful, but it is very high in nitrogen. If you put it fresh around your plants, it can burn them. The better method is to compost it for about 6 months first. Once it breaks down properly, it becomes one of the best fertilizers you can give your garden. In farming, patience almost always gives you the better harvest. Part 2. Rabbits, the quiet protein factory. Chickens can take care of your eggs, but if you want a steady supply of meat for the freezer and you do not have much space, rabbits are one of the smartest animals you can raise. They are quiet, clean, efficient, and perfect for small homesteads, especially if you live near neighbors who would never tolerate noisy livestock. The Amish often treat rabbits like a quiet protein factory, and for good reason. The feed conversion is impressive. For every 10 pounds of feed, a rabbit can return about 6 pounds of meat. Compare that with cattle, which may need around 8 pounds of feed to produce just 1 pound of beef. On a small property, that kind of efficiency matters. Rabbits turn simple feed into high-quality protein faster than almost any common farm animal. Their space requirement is another major advantage. With stacked wire hutches, around 20 rabbits can fit comfortably in a simple 10 by 10 foot shed. That means you can run a serious meat-producing setup in a space smaller than many garden storage areas. One well-managed breeding doe can produce about 50 pounds of dressed meat each year. With 3 good does, some Amish families can keep meat on the table without depending on the grocery store. Rabbit meat is mild, lean, and similar to chicken, but lower in fat and cholesterol. And for the garden, rabbits offer something even better: their droppings. Unlike chicken manure, rabbit pellets are considered cold manure, which means they can go straight into the vegetable rows without burning your plants. No composting, no waiting, just clean, useful fertilizer for the soil. The main rule is feeding them correctly. Never give rabbits iceberg lettuce or cabbage, because it can cause dangerous bloat. Keep them on quality hay, good pellets, and safe treats like apple twigs, and they will reward you with meat, manure, and remarkable efficiency. Part 3. Nigerian dwarf goats, the micro-dairy solution. Once eggs and meat are covered, the next question is dairy. You cannot pour rabbit meat into your morning coffee, and if you want fresh milk, calcium, cheese, or homemade soap, you need a milk animal. But on half an acre, a full-size dairy cow is simply too large. You do not have the pasture, the feed budget, or the barn space for that kind of commitment. This is where the Nigerian dwarf goat becomes so valuable. These goats stand only about 2 feet tall, but they can produce an impressive amount of milk for their size. One good doe can give up to half a gallon of milk a day. That is enough for coffee, cereal, small batches of cheese, and even soap making. In many Amish-style homesteads, extra goat milk can become a small income source, especially when turned into handmade soap that sells well at local markets. The milk itself is one of the biggest advantages. Goat milk has smaller fat globules than cow milk, which makes it easier for many people to digest. It is also rich and creamy, with butterfat often running between 6 and 10%. That gives you a deeper flavor and a thicker texture than most store-bought milk. Here's a simple management trick that saves a lot of trouble. Only feed grain during milking time. When goats learn that grain appears on the milking stand, they come willingly and jump up on their own. A doe may cost $200 to $400 up front, but when you compare that with a family spending around $1,500 a year on dairy products, the value becomes clear quickly. Just remember one rule: never keep one goat alone. Goats are herd animals. A lonely goat may stop eating, stop producing well, and cry constantly. Always start with at least 2. Part 4. Muscovy ducks, the feathered exterminators. Now you may have milk, eggs, and meat covered, but your garden can still be under attack. Slugs, ticks, mosquito larvae, and Japanese beetles can destroy a beautiful growing space faster than most people expect. That is where Muscovy ducks earn their place. They may look a little unusual, almost like a duck mixed with a turkey and given a red face mask, but on a working homestead, beauty is not the point. Amish families value Muscovies because they are serious pest hunters. These birds eat bugs with incredible appetite. One Muscovy can consume around 100 mosquito larvae in a single day, and they will gladly go after ticks, slugs, beetles, and other garden pests. Instead of spraying chemicals around your vegetables, you have a living cleanup crew patrolling the property every day. Another advantage is noise. Unlike regular ducks that can be loud and constant, Muscovies do not truly quack. They usually make soft hissing sounds and wag their tails, so they are much easier to keep near neighbors. They are also excellent mothers. A Muscovy hen can hatch 3 to 4 clutches a year on her own, without incubators, heat lamps, or late-night egg turning. You also do not need to build a pond for them. A simple plastic kiddie pool, refilled twice a week, can handle their water needs. Their meat is valuable too, leaner and richer than regular duck, with a flavor many old-timers compare to a poor man's roast. But there is one important warning. Muscovies fly very well. About every 6 months, clip the flight feathers on just one wing. That throws off their balance and keeps them safely on your property. Skip that step, and your best pest control team may end up living in your neighbor's yard. Part 5. American guinea hogs, the living rototillers. Now let's talk about an animal that gives you good pork and helps prepare your garden beds at the same time: the American guinea hog. These heritage pigs are compact, sturdy, and much easier to manage than large commercial hogs. They have the look of a pot-bellied pig with a stronger, more practical farm build. The reason Amish families value them is simple. Guinea hogs work for their food. Put them on an overgrown garden plot, and they will start rooting through weeds, turning the soil and fertilizing as they go. They can loosen the ground several inches deep, clean up unwanted growth, and help prepare that area for planting. Move them weekly with a simple electric fence, and by spring, you can have a garden bed ready without spending hours behind a shovel. At full size, American guinea hogs usually reach about 150 to 200 pounds. That is far more manageable than commercial hogs that can push 400 pounds or more. For a small homestead, that difference matters. You do not need heavy equipment or a team of people to handle them properly. They also help reduce feed costs. These pigs do well on pasture, garden scraps, and fallen apples, which can lower feed expenses by 40 to 60%. And one of their best gifts is the lard. It renders into a clean, white fat that is excellent for flaky pie crusts, frying, and traditional cooking. A breeding pair can produce 6 to 8 piglets twice a year, giving you strong meat potential in a small system. Just follow one strict rule: keep pigs at least 100 feet away from your well. Their waste is high in nitrogen and can contaminate groundwater faster than many people realize. Part 6. Turnix quail, the subdivision loophole. Now, what if you want eggs much faster than chickens can provide, but you only have a tiny amount of space? That is where Turnix quail become one of the best small homestead solutions. These little birds are quick, productive, and incredibly efficient for anyone working with limited room. Turnix quail can start laying eggs at just 6 weeks old. 6 weeks. At that age, most chickens are still growing feathers and learning their place in the flock, but quail are already producing food. This makes them especially useful for people who want fast results. They are also helpful in strict neighborhoods, because many townships ban chickens but allow quail since they are not always classified the same way as common poultry. Their space needs are almost unbelievable. A dozen quail can fit comfortably in a 2-by-4-foot cage, which is smaller than many coffee tables. Stack 2 cages, and you can collect around 2 dozen eggs a day from a very small footprint. The eggs may be tiny, but they are nutrient-dense. About 5 quail eggs equal 1 chicken egg in size, and they contain much higher vitamin B12. There is also a good income angle. Pickled quail eggs are popular at Amish roadside stands, especially when soaked in beet juice until they turn a beautiful purple-red color. They can sell for $8 to $10 a dozen, and for some families, that small product becomes steady weekend income. The only real challenge is reproduction. Turnix quail rarely go broody, because that instinct has mostly been bred out of them. So if you want to hatch your own, you will need a small incubator, usually around $40 to $60. But after the first good hatch, it can quickly pay for itself. Part 7. Honeybees, the ultimate multipliers. We have already covered meat, eggs, dairy, and soil preparation. But now we need something that can increase the productivity of the entire garden without eating your vegetables or competing for your feed. That is exactly where honeybees come in. Bees do not eat your tomatoes. They help create more of them. One healthy hive in the backyard can pollinate fruiting plants across a wide area, often within about a 2-mile radius. Tomatoes, squash, cucumbers, apples, and many other crops that depend on flowers can produce much better when bees are working nearby. In a well-pollinated garden, yields can increase by 30 to 50%. That happens because thousands of bees are visiting flowers every day, turning blossoms into real food. And bees give back in another way: honey. A strong established colony can produce around 30 to 60 pounds of surplus honey each year. Surplus means the honey left after the bees keep what they need for themselves. In other words, you are getting a sweet harvest from insects that feed themselves, build their own home, and mostly ask to be managed with care and respect. At farmers markets, honey can bring $10 to $15 per pound. Beeswax is valuable too, giving you material for candles, lip balms, and wood polish. The Amish often prefer traditional Langstroth hives because the removable frames make management simple. You can inspect the hive, harvest honey, and check the colony without tearing everything apart. Timing also matters. Package bees are best started in April, giving them the full warm season to build strength before winter. One old practical trick is to face the hive entrance southeast. The morning sun warms the entrance early, helping the bees start foraging sooner and giving your garden a stronger start each day. Part 8. Small breed sheep. Finally, we come to the 8th animal. If you have a small pasture, an orchard, or a grassy area that needs regular mowing, but you do not want the soil compaction or heavy feed demands of a cow, small breed sheep can be an excellent fit. I like to think of them as gentle lawn managers. Breeds like Baby Dole Southdown are especially useful on a micro-homestead. They are calm, hornless, and only reach about 20 to 24 inches tall. Their main job is grass and weed control. Because they stay so short, they can graze under fruit trees or inside small orchards, trimming the grass neatly without reaching high enough to damage bark or eat low-hanging fruit. Jacob sheep are another strong option. They are hardy, striking animals with spotted fleece and multiple horns, and they can do well even on lower-quality pasture. Their wool is valued by people who spin fiber, and a small flock of 4 ewes and 1 ram can provide a meaningful supply of meat for the family. With careful breeding schedules, sheep can also provide nutritious milk for drinking or making rich, flavorful cheese. But the real strength of this system is multi-species rotational grazing. You do not just put sheep in one pen and leave them there. You move them with portable electric netting every day or two, giving them fresh grass and preventing overgrazing. The sheep eat the top growth first. Then, a couple of days later, chickens can be moved onto the same area. They scratch through the sheep manure, eat fly larvae, break parasite cycles, and spread fertility back into the soil. That is when the system really starts working. The animals support each other, reduce waste, protect the land, and help build healthier soil at the same time. Conclusion: the closed-loop ecosystem. This is the real strength of the Amish half-acre model. The soil always tells the truth. When you stop fighting nature and start working with its natural rhythm, the whole property begins to function as one living system. The chicken manure feeds the garden after it is properly composted. The garden scraps feed the pigs and rabbits. The rabbit droppings go straight back into the vegetable beds. The ducks control pests, the sheep keep the grass trimmed, and the bees help multiply every flower, fruit, and crop you grow. Now picture your homestead 2 years from today. Supply chain problems are no longer something that shake your kitchen. They are just news stories you hear about from a distance. Your family is eating clean, nutrient-rich food from your own land, and your grocery bill has dropped in a way you can actually feel. Your property is no longer just a yard. It becomes a self-supporting biological engine that grows more fertile, more balanced, and easier to manage each season. The lesson is simple. You do not need 10 acres to begin. You need a smart system. Each animal must have a purpose, and each part of the homestead should support the next. So, which of these 8 animals would you add to your property first? Share your answer in the comments, and I will help you think through what animal or garden system would pair best with it. If this changed the way you see what is possible on a small piece of land, like the video, subscribe to Farmyard Care, and turn on the bell. Every week, we break down practical, time-tested, self-reliant systems so you can stop guessing and start building a more independent life. Until next time, keep dreaming big, keep your hands in the dirt, and I will see you on the farm.